Welcome to the Butterfly Empire podcast.
This is the teddy bear. You can play if you don't come play with us. Then we will kill you.
On today's episode, we are going to cover Daniel and Jessica Groves. They both are facing 11 counts: aggravated murder, kidnapping, child endangerment, tampering with evidence, interference with custody, gross abuse of a corpse, and 4 counts of felonious assault. Jessica was found guilty of all her counts. Her husband, Daniel, was found guilty of all but 1 count: aggravated murder. So keep listening in, and I'll tell you how it gone.
Which became effective on March 22nd, 2019. The allegations as to the date of the kidnapping transverse, for lack of a better term, the effective date. For the purposes of sentencing, the state of Ohio is willing to concede that, and narrow that down, that it would be pre-Reagan-Tokes sentencing. For the purposes of sentencing, Your Honor, I believe that leaves counts 8, 9, and 10. Count 8, we have argued that as the first serious physical harm, being the healing rib fractures. Count 9 as the skull fracture with signs of healing. And count 10 as the bruising to the right side of baby Dylan's abdomen. In as much as we can't pinpoint the bruising as a separate event, we would concede that would merge for the purposes of sentencing as well. And frankly, I would submit we can merge it with count 8 or 9, but count 8 makes sense to me based on the evidence before the court.
That was 8-10.
Yes, Your Honor. The other counts: tampering with evidence, count 5, and gross abuse of a corpse, count 7. The state of Ohio would argue those 2 counts do not merger. We would submit that there were dissimilar import and separate animus. We have the tampering with the evidence that the state has argued was the wrapping of Dylan's body in the multiple layers of the cocoon, so to speak. In count 7, we would submit that would be for the dropping and leaving the child's body in the well, or that the child, there's evidence that his body was left around the home for a couple of days. So the state of Ohio would argue those should not merge for sentencing. Thank you, Your Honor.
What's the state's position as to count 4 child endangerment?
Your Honor, state of Ohio would submit as a matter of public policy and case law that count 4 child endangering does not merge.
Like on State v. Brown on that, the Ohio Supreme Court.
Well, factually, evidence-wise, the repeated exposure to dangers to the child in the case, as well as the continued failure to act or call 911. And for case law, yes, Your Honor, the state would rely on state.
Thank you, Mr. Taman. Scott, you want to be heard as, is your position the same as the Daniel Groves on these kidnapping counts?
With one exception.
The exception of the aggravated murder charge. Scott, you want to be heard as the issue of murder?
Yes. I do believe that I would agree with the majority of what Mr. Teeman said in regards to two of the counts of felonious assault, if I understood this correctly. Two of the counts of felonious assault will merge. In regards to the murder case, the kidnapping is going to merge with the interference of custody case. What I would disagree with, Your Honor, is that the tampering of evidence and the gross abuse of corpse, I believe it's the state's position that those would not merge. But what I would argue, Your Honor, is that they would merge at this time, that they were one continuous act with one continuous animus that was presented. I know that the state has pointed out and said that they're considering the wrapping of the body as tampering with evidence, as well as and the gross abuse of corpse would be the well left in the home or the baby left in the home for a couple of days or placed in the well. In regards to tampering with evidence, there has to be knowledge that there will be an investigation that's given rise in regards to certain actions. Just because a crime is committed, that doesn't necessarily give rise to an investigation. There was
pretty ample evidence of that, though, at least as far as Children's Services trying to find this child.
Well, it depends on the date of when you consider the act happening, Your Honor. I believe that would be a clear distinction if what the court will take into consideration. If the baby passed away on March 28th, as my client purports and as Groves purports, Children's Services saw the child that day.
The jury's verdict sort of seemed to believe that the jury didn't necessarily believe that, though.
But they were not asked that question directly, and they were not asked to make that finding specifically, Your Honor. So I don't know what was part of their conclusion, was not part of their conclusion. They did not. They were not asked to make a special finding in regards to that.
We can presume that they followed the court's instructions, though, can
But I do not believe that the court instructed them to make a finding as to when the body, when the body was presumed, or when baby Dylan passed away. I do not believe they were asked to follow that. I do not believe that was anywhere in any of the instructions. So, based on what was purported by my client, Mr. Groves, as well as Jessica Groves, is that
A dead baby was found at the bottom of a 30-foot well. The well was badly beaten, had drugs in its system. It was padlocked inside of milk crates. The coroner's report has revealed details of 4-month-old Dylan Graves' harrowing death after his body was discovered in June. Parents Daniel and Jessica Groves, 41 and 39, have been charged with their son's murder. His body was found in a well in Otway, Ohio, with fractures to his skull, left leg, and left arm, according to the coroner's report. Dylan had been wrapped in a blanket and plastic bag, secured with a duct tape, and put inside 2 milk crates. The crates were bonded together by a chain padlock, zip ties, and metal wires. It was then weighed down with rocks and an iron weight that acted as an anchor. A technology report found that there was a methamphetamine and amphetamine in Dylan's liver. His cause of death was listed as homicide, violence of an undetermined cause. The Groves faced a list of 8 charges, including murder, kidnapping, gross abuse of a corpse, and more. They were pleaded not guilty at all counts. Dylan was described to have lived a short and troubled life by the authorities. He was born with drugs in his system. He was taken into custody of child services after he was born with drugs in his system. Dylan was later returned to his father under the requirements that he attended court dates, home visits, and doctor appointments. But on May 3rd, the family vanished and the police were asked to intervene. After being missing for 3 weeks, the parents were spotted on a four-wheeler near their home and fled in the woods. Deputies executed a search warrant for Daniel's home on June 10th. Jessica was taken into custody, but Daniel barricaded himself inside the home and was later arrested after a 6-hour standoff. The sheriff's office believed that the boy may have died in March. The state has accused Children's Services of... excuse you. Oh, that's unfortunate. The state has accused Children's Services of mishandling Dylan's cases and believe that they did not follow procedure. They may have asked to produce a coercive action plan. The mother of a baby boy who was found dead in a well with his body wrapped in laser plastic sealed with duct tape has made an astonishing confession to kill him during a heated exchange in court. Jessica and Daniel Groves testified on Friday, local time, in trial in Ohio, U.S., where they both stood accused of murdering their newborn son, Dylan, last year. The pair faced charges. Well, today, when asked if she had acted alone and killed her baby, Jessica responded yes, before claiming his death was an accident. Prior to her shock confession, the couple had pleaded not guilty to all charges. Since her admission, Jessica Groves has been found guilty of aggravated murder and murder, facing up to life without no parole. Daniel Graves was found not guilty of aggravated murder, but guilty of murder. He faces 15 years to life with the option for parole. The 2-month-old baby boy's body was found in the crate at the bottom of a well. There's a hole in the bottom of the sea. There's a hole in the bottom of the sea. There's a hole in the bucket in the bottom. Sorry. That jumble of words reminded me of it. A forensic pathologist was performed. Dylan's autopsy told the court he had sustained fractures to his skull, arms, ribs, and leg. She said that they found some of the child's injuries were in process of healing and others weren't at the time of the death, which indicated that at least 3 separated incidents has caused them. According to her, when she received the body, it was still secured in the crate and had been weighed down with 18 rocks and secured with 3 padlocks. She said Dylan had been wrapped in 6 layers of plastic sealed with duct tape and 12 zip ties. Authorities haven't disclosed a cause of death. Jessica told the court that she caused the injuries to Dylan on March 27th and then he died on March 28th. Jessica told the jury she didn't remember how any of the child's injuries occurred, but claimed that I have concealed them from Daniel. I can't tell you something I can't remember, she said. When he died, a part of me died. She said the couple kept his body at home for a few days, then took him to the well. Under cross-examination, Jessica told the court she had wrapped Dylan's tiny body in plastic, but also said that she didn't quite remember how it happened. I could tell you the plastic didn't come from under the kitchen sink. I got it outside, she said. The prosecutor became increasingly frustrated with the defendant's vague answers and then asked her why she allegedly murdered her baby. I was accused of losing everything, a sobbing said Jessica without further explanation. Tensions between the prosecutor and Jessica escalated as she was pressed for more details about the process of what happened and how and why. I have to live with this for the rest of my life. You have devoured my family, Jessica snapped. I have admitted to my guilt and I have lived with them, my children. I'm done talking to you. The judge calls for recess while a defense attorney advised his client the session later resumed and the jury deliberated. Earlier, the court heard Dylan initially was removed from his parents' custody when he was born due to drugs in his system, but was later returned to his father. My client, Jessica Groves, was and still is a drug addict. There's no doubt about the fact. She and she alone caused injuries to Dylan Groves, which led to his death. She murdered Dylan Groves. According to investigators, Daniel led police to Dylan's body after lying to them several times. Daniel told the jury he found Dylan dead in his cot on March 28th, just a few hours after the caseworker visited the home. He said he believed that he had died from natural causes and that Jessica told him he would likely be blamed for the baby's death because he had custody of him. Mr. Stratton said Daniel was foolishly unaware of his son's acquired injuries when he discovered the body. Once he found him, panic and confusion set in, and with the panic and confusion came more bad decisions. Did he help hide the body? Yes. Did he suggest the well? Yes. He knew where this well was. Did he help craft the coffin and preserve Dylan? Yes, he did, but that's all he did. The court heard Dylan allegedly learned of Jessica's drug use the day she went into labor with a child. Daniel admitted to struggling with a drug addiction himself in May of 2019, after his oldest son was removed from his care in late April.
Did you have anything to prepare for fostering an infant?
Did I have anything to prepare?
Was there anything you needed to do before? You said you had to go get diapers, but was your house ready for an infant at
Right.
that time?
I had, from where I had my previous foster son, I had a room that was vacant. My cousin gave me the crib for Dylan. And then I had a rocker recliner upstairs that I brought down so I could rock him. And then a friend of mine from church gave me a Mamaroo, which is it's a device like what they have at the hospital, which is kind of like a high-tech saucer type thing that rocks the babies and soothes them. And so we had one of those brought to the house, and I have a really good support system of friends and family, and it was just like clothes were coming in, and it was almost immediate. I had everything I needed for him.
Seems like there was this mad scramble from your community of friends to...
It was, yes. It was a mad scramble, and then we had a room that was perfect for him.
So, were you advised of any potential medical condition that Dylan had in this call from Children's Services?
Yes.
What was your understanding of what you might be dealing with?
They told me that he was born with drugs in his system, and that he was withdrawing, and that he was, at that time, he was 5 pounds 4 ounces. So he was really tiny. That's basically what they told me.
Okay. So you mentioned you got to the hospital around 6 o'clock?
Yes, around 6:30.
What hospital was that?
SOMC.
Okay. And once you got to the hospital, what did you do?
Okay, so went to the nursery there at the hospital, and met with the nurses. They let me in, and then I went through some training on what signs to look for with a baby that's withdrawing, and how to take care of a baby that is has been born with drugs in his system, and for several hours, different types of training for how to take care of him. And then they had to do a car seat test with him because he was so small, to make sure he could sit in the car seat. They checked his oxygen as he was sitting there for an hour. They had different things hooked up to him, so I watched him do that. And then after the car seat test, that's when we were ready to go home.
Okay. And what kind of vocational plans had you made initially when you were going to go home with Dylan?
I'm sorry, I can't.
What kind of job plans? Did you have work that you had to go to? Or?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I'm a teacher, so this was midweek that I got Dylan, and I didn't want to leave him with a babysitter or daycare, so I took 12 days off that I had him. I was going to take more.
She murdered Dylan Groves, Daniel said. By all accounts, this was fraught family dynamic indeed. Daniel Groves testified it found his wife intimidating. Prosecutors said that Jessica Groves gave birth to Dylan on January 10, 2019. He would have turned 1 year old on Friday. Hospital staffers determined both mother and newborn had illegal drugs in their system. The child was briefly put in foster care but was returned to his father. Authorities said, however, Dylan Grove died at the end of March. Deputies executed a search warrant on the parents' home January 10th. Jessica Groves was quickly apprehended, but Daniel Groves was arrested. Both defendants testified that the child died March 28th. Daniel Groves said that this had happened a couple hours after a caseworker left their home. His testimony in some manners contradicted statements by other witnesses. This included whether a nurse saw him high, whether he used his older son to cheat in a drug test after Dylan's testimony. Well, I've been searching and searching and searching for the past 10 minutes, and so far all I came up with the cause of death was undetermined, or won't release the information, or just murder, assault, blah, blah, but I don't think anybody actually really knows what happened to that child, which is sad because he gets no justice, or his story doesn't get to really be told. But I thank you for joining me for today's podcast, and I hope you enjoyed. Come back for the next one.